Hello, you crispy chicken nuggets. How's it going? My name is TheChosenIndividual, and welcome back to another video. Now, you might be wondering, why do I have the contaminated status effect? Well, remember that community post I made yesterday where I was talking about, the pressurized water reactor and everything? This is how it ended up. Listen, I do not know why, I do not know how, but I got to work on this reactor, which is more powerful and better designed in my opinion. I'll show you how it works in a minute. And out of nowhere, huge explosion, and it exploded. As you can see, it did unfortunately breach the structural integrity of the containment vessel. But I just covered it back up. I was like, nah, frick this, I'll deal with it later. And so I just continued on this one. So, how's it going? I know it has been quite a long time since I made one of these tutorial videos. Well, this isn't really a tutorial video, more of a showcase video, And then if you want, we can move on to the tutorial video. And so, this is a pressurized water reactor in HBM's nuclear tech mod. So let me show you the inside, the actual core. As you can see, big seal. Danger, extremely radioactive, do not enter well online. Pressurized water reactor, that's what it stands for, combustion chamber seal. Now, I'm in creative, so let's disobey that warning. Oh my god, that is extremely loud. Give it a minute. Alright. And now we can enter the actual combustion chamber. As you can see, I have some scaffolding up here, I have some trapdoors, which I'll tell you what they're for in a minute. And, well, when you go up here, and as you can see, the trapdoors are arranged in a way that when I open them, I have access to the fuel rods. And, by the way, the fuel that I'm using is low enriched plutonium. For a minute, I thought I was using mixed oxide. Huh. Okay, that's strange, but alright, I guess I'll deal with it. So that's the actual core. Let me just show it to you on the control panel so you know the setup. This is what it looks like. You can take a screenshot right now. It looks complicated and convoluted, but trust me, it's not that hard to build. Some control rods, some fuel rods, loads of fluid heaters, loads of boron, neutron absorbers, loads of neutron reflectors, the fun stuff. Now you might notice that this is an RBMK reactor, but I don't want to talk about it. Now listen, the other two types of reactors in HBM's nuclear tech mod most closely resemble pressurized water reactors. Now if you don't know how they work, basically water is, well, a pressurizer over here usually pressurizes water to a higher pressure than normal. I don't know how to say it. And so that water cycles in within the reactor. And so, well, coolant serves that purpose, but I'll explain why in a minute. And basically that water heats up, and then it is taken to a steam generator or a heat exchanger, where it actually boils water. That water then goes to the turbines. Blah 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 blah, you know the drill. And the reason why we have coolant instead of water is because there is actually no water that doesn't boil, and there is no pressurizer. Now I know that the big nuclear reactor and the Xernox most closely resemble this, as I just said, but let's be honest, they are both horribly inefficient. So, I guess this is a better choice for now. Although it's extremely expensive. You need loads of fluid heaters. It is egregiously expensive, to put it simply. And it's also very prone to exploding if the coolant loop is ever compromised. So what happens here is that these heat exchangers turn the hot coolant back into coolant and send that heat to these boilers. Now this initial row of boilers is connected to the main water loop, and well, the main feed water loop. And what that does is that it boils the water into steam. And so to get more power out of it, what I decided to do was then use that same hot coolant and heat exchangers to turn that steam into super and into then steam. You could add more layers for super and ultra then steam if you want. I just didn't do it because I was too lazy to do it. I was testing it, alright? And now I really don't want to change the setup. But yeah, that's the basic gist of it. So pressurized water reactors work differently from boiling water reactors. Boiling water reactors boil the water within the core, and the boiling water reactor is the one that the RBMK most closely resembles. Yeah, I know I'm using the same words, but bear with me. Yeah, it's the closest one because water boils inside the actual reactor core and is then taken to the turbines, condensed, and cycled back. And so that reactor is water cooled. Well, both reactors are water cooled, it's just that one water is a slightly higher pressure. And if you wonder how this is possible in real life, that is because water has different boiling temperatures depending on its atmospheric pressure. That pressure is usually in atmospheres, but I think it's sometimes using barometric pressure measurements too. You can look up a chart or something online. Trust me, it is not that hard at all. It takes 5 minutes and you'll quickly understand why this works. And well, since coolant doesn't boil, I guess now the close second to pressurized water. So yeah, using the new heat exchanger, which by the way, I'll tell you in a minute why this reactor is safer than the actual RBMK. Is the heat exchangers to boil water, blah blah blah. You know the drill. And now, the main reason. Oh, by the way, if you want to know how I got these this cool text, it is with the text card inside an advanced information panel from energy control. On the subject of energy control, I want to talk about it soon. The problem is that there is some issues still within it. Like, for example, that this is gonna be really dangerous. If I grab an energy or an average counter and try to place it down at all, the game will crash. And it doesn't just crash, it pretty much corrupts your world. So I don't know why it happens. I don't know if I'm the only one that it happens to, but it happens. And the reason why this reactor is safer than the actual RBMK is because the coolant will just continue looping inside the reactor. Now, a quirk that is actually present in these new heat exchangers is that there is no requirement for the coolant to be cooled down for simplicity's sake. You just put it in and take it back out and it's seemingly magically cold again. And that heat is transferred to whatever is on top. But I found a little exploit in this system. And that is that even if the main water loop were to fail for any reason, although energy production would stop because there's no water to boil, the reactor would just continue working normally. The coolant loop will continue. Now, this wouldn't have been the case if I had made it with the old, now pretty much removed, RBMK heat exchanger block, which I probably would have had to build a much bigger heat exchanger, but I guess that's alright by me. Because if I did, then if the main water loop failed, then realistically this coolant wouldn't be cooled down, and so it would just be looping back the same hot coolant into the core, and well, eventually there would be no pressure verging and it would explode. Another thing that I quickly want to say is that The minimum to start up this reactor is 600 Celsius, because that's the temperature at which hot coolant is starting to be produced. It's not like boiling water reactors, where at a minimum of 100 degrees is when water starts to boil and you start to generate energy. No, this is different. So yeah, just keep that in mind. You almost get worried because like it looks all red, but don't worry, that is just regular startup protocols, and it is more than safe to run. I've been running it for pretty much a couple hours, I would like to say now, and it's pretty good, not gonna lie. So yeah, if you do spend your time on, oh wait, energy production, I haven't said that at all. As you can see, I got loads of turbines. It has only 2 more turbines than that reactor over there, but produces, I think, double the power. This one produces 2.72 million HEs per second. Now, the only problem with that is that basically any boiling water reactor is better than this. Like, yes, even the most basic ass RBMK is better than this. The main reason for that is that these boilers are terribly inefficient. But you could also, I guess, stack more and make super or ultra dense steam, and then you can maybe start rolling in the cache. But I don't know, I'm not an expert in that field. In fact, there is a reason why no one has thought of making this so far, and it's mainly because it's a bad idea and takes up a lot of time and resources. So, oh my god. So if you're ever questioning whether you should make a pressurized water reactor, I mean, oh, I'm also using these flow gauge pipes, which are from HBM, and they basically show they flow well. That's kind of their main function. So yeah, if you want to build this, it would be strictly if you're too scared. If this is like your very first time building an RBMK reactor, and you don't know what you're doing, and well, are just scared that it might explode due to poor design or anything, you can make it pretty much any design you want with an exception on fuels. But as long as you have enough fluid heaters, you can pretty much make any design you want. Well, enough control rods as well. Just make sure it's safe. As I always say, don't be afraid to test it out in a creative world before actually implementing it, because, well, won't you know, if you don't test it first, look to what's gonna happen. So yeah, if you're too scared of your reactor blowing up because you don't have enough water, or I don't know, sabotage or something, then sure, go ahead and build this. It's gonna serve the purpose just fine. But if you just want to roll in the box with energy production, please don't waste your time doing this. Yeah. It's been TheChosenIndividual, and hopefully I'll see you next time with a tutorial. Peace out, gamers.